Hello, welcome back to Aether. This is Satomi and Paul from sakaso.ca.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you? How are you?
I'm doing all right, but I hope everyone else is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, today, the topic title is Why Do We Self-Sabotage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is huge,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Do you?
To me?
Do you?
Do I? Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think every single person does.
Yeah.
It's
To
pretty,
some degree.
yeah, it's
some
either
more.
universal or nearly universal
Mm-hmm.
for humans.
Yeah, and then I would say I hope I'm not just jumping into an answer or conclusion, but this is a lesson, right?
Well, yeah, we're going to go into understanding what's going on with this, like you know, how to recognize it.
Like a life lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically how to recognize it, how to understand it, and then how to move past it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to cover all three of those things
Mm-hmm.
today in this session, and this is something that is life impacting. Like it's not just something that people are affected by; it's huge. This is what self-sabotage is kind of what gets in everybody's way from achieving what they want. It's I mean
yeah, that's why I'm saying it's because it's a life lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Because if it's easy peasy, everything is easy peasy, you're probably not learning anything new, right? So it's you hit a wall or you struggle to find something so you learn new way or you learn a different way or you learn this and that, right? And then you are wiser, right? And you are more flexible, you are more creative and those kind of things.
Yeah.
You gain, right? But everything is easy, you might not be gaining anything. So yeah.
So you mean when you're saying life lesson, you weren't saying just like, hey, this is good to know, this is something that's helpful. What you're saying is this is fundamental to our lives, every aspect of how we live our life, basically. And I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
And we are always welcome questions and comments. Don't hesitate to say hi. We like to hear and connect with you guys live.
Yeah.
So, and then even if you're not watching this live, and if you have questions, also, you can leave comments, question afterwards, and we'll get back to you. Right?
Yeah. And with Aether, we're always talking here on this channel about how to move from pain and separation to being together and being happy, right? And just having a good life. So if you want to hear more about that, make sure you subscribe and share and like and all that good stuff. And let's dive in. Let's see here. So how to recognize it. So the first step, right, when it comes to self-sabotage is understand that it's what's going on, right? So, and how do we know that, right? Well, basically it's when you're stuck, when you're frustrated, that's what's going on, right? It's because of self-sabotage. It's because, and self-sabotage is basically, you want to get somewhere, but then another part of you cuts across that and just blows it up, right? It's like you're trying so hard to get somewhere. You really want to get somewhere. You're desperate, whether that's, healing or achieving a success, or whether that's, having a relationship that's a good, healthy, nurturing, wholesome relationship in your life, or just with your friends, right? Or whatever it is. We want those things, but then for some reason, if it's relating to somebody, we get upset, right? All of a sudden anger comes in, right? Out of nowhere, maybe sometimes. And then that blows it up. and we're trying to, get somewhere, and then I get angry or something, right?
Yeah.
That's happened, right?
Yeah, but like how do you describe frustrated because he is angry. I'm not self-sabotaging. He's creating some stuff and yeah, I feel stuck. I'm frustrated, but how come it's self-sabotaging? I'm doing this and all those things, and they're creating problems.
Well, so how do you tell the difference, right? I mean, that's a perfectly good question.
So that's not what you're talking about here?
No, not in this one. We're not talking in this one about how, the person you're in a relationship with and how they play into it and how they, may or may not be the right person for you. They may or not be supportive, whatever the case may be, or just empathetic or anything. This is about how we do it, right?
So when you are frustrated with yourself, so that's what you're talking about here, stuck and frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we know we're responsible when we want a better career, but then when we get home, we end up watching TV, right? And sometimes we're genuinely exhausted. There's not one more thing we can do in the day, right? That's sometimes true. Other times, it's just you know what? It's just too much effort.
Yeah, and then sometimes you are making an excuse. Oh, I'm tired. I'm too tired. I don't have time.
Yeah, or just don't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
or I can do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? I can do it tomorrow. That's another big one.
I cannot pronounce this that long word. Start with
Procrastinate.
Procrastinate.
Yes.
Procrastinate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mañana. That's Spanish for I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a famous thing. So it's
So that's the sign.
Yeah. When you procrastinate, when you make excuses, when you are putting something off, when you are using displacement activities, right? Those kind of things. When you end up playing, solitaire on your computer or something, instead of actually doing the, writing the letter that you really want to write, that kind of thing.
That's a self-sabotage.
That's self-sabotage. Yeah. Or if you want to get in shape, but you put it off, right? Kind of similar psychology going on, right? Or if you don't want to let go, right? So you're not willing to let life show the direction. That's a little trickier to understand, but whenever we are whenever we're trying to heal or grow or anything like that, it's not really about achievement. It's actually about letting go of something that's in our way. Right? That's what it's really about. And if we don't want to, because we think that thing is precious to us, or we think we have to have it, right? That we end up defending our limitations, that kind of thing, right? Then that's a clear indication. If we're ever in that kind of situation, that's a clear indication that this is all about self-sabotage. And it's not the other person's fault, right? It's not somebody else who's coming in and creating upset, making your day a difficult day. If you are fighting to hold on to something, and it's a limitation, it's not a healthy thing, but you're insisting on it being there, then that is a clear sign that it's self-sabotage.
For example?
Well, a lot of times when we're working with clients, they have like myself, right? I had physical health problems that were very serious, and you saw what the issue was. It was anger, for example, right? It was unresolved anger and things I needed to forgive from my past, right? Of things that happened.
So you're holding on to anger.
I was holding on to old anger, for example, right? I wasn't ready to forgive people, right? if we're fighting to not forgive someone, then that is self-sabotage for sure, right? There's no way around it.
Because forgiveness, you don't do it for others, you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That is that people misunderstand about forgiveness, right? But forgiveness is you're doing it for yourself, for you to be free, for you to be healthy and happy. You're not doing anything to them or for them, right? By forgiving someone, it's just all for you, right? And then you are not forgiving someone and holding on to the anger, frustration, then that makes sense.
Yeah. Or if you're choosing that you have to beat up on yourself, right? You have to be, that people, I did that too, right? I was pretty hard on myself. And if you are insisting on continuing that instead of letting it go, because, it's just really important that you are rough on yourself, that's self-sabotage too. There's just so many examples of that kind of behavior where we end up thinking that something is important in our lives just because we're so familiar with it, right? It's always been around, it's just part of life, part of our own personal limitations, right? And we've come to accept it. And when we work, and when you're trying to work with me and trying to help me get past it, you have to, if I'm sitting there and defending that old limitation, that's self-sabotage. And we run into that with clients, right? That happens, right? In their healing and growth process. So whenever we're defending limitations, that's definitely a clear sign that that's what we're up against. Sometimes it's not possible to run 10 kilometers, right? Because you have like a knee problem. That's a different thing. But you have to be very, in healing and growth, you have to use a lot of self-discipline, right? That's one of the number one things is not listening to your own bull, right? Because we do that all the time. We do, tell ourselves stories, right? That it has to be this way because, right? It's so important that I have to hold on to this because, right? Those stories are just something that we have decided on is real, but it's not. And we have to be, we have to be aware of that. Like I'm saying, and you just got to be brutally honest, right? Sometimes it's a limitation that you got to work with for a while. Like maybe you do have a problem with your knee, physical problem with your knee, not able to run 10K. Okay.
Yeah, but
so maybe walking for like a block or something.
If you say, I cannot run because I have knee problem, and then you stop, then that's a self-sabotage. You are making an excuse, right? Using your knee problem as an excuse. Since I have pain in the knee, I cannot run, but maybe I can go swimming or find something
sit-ups,
else.
Push-ups, whatever, right?
And then do something so you can heal your knees, right? But if you just sit in there and I can't do it, or they can do it, but I can't do it, then that's a self-sabotage.
So that self-discipline, what I'm talking about, is to look at every situation is unique, and it has, every person in every situation, it's important to look at ourselves with fresh eyes, right? And to question whether that old story is a real thing or if it's just a story. And that's what it comes down to. And if it is a story, let's just own it and be honest about it, and treat it for what it really is, instead of thinking that it's a real thing and just believing it because we're just used to telling that story to ourselves. So that's what happens a lot. And let's see what I got here for or this is another indication, right? It's kind of similar to what we're talking about. It's related. Not wanting to let go is an indicator, right? That, like we were saying, that's not wanting to let go. But or another way of saying it is to not let life show the direction, right? That's a little bit, maybe takes a little explanation too, but like we tend to always want to control, right? And so
because it's comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we get further along in this conversation. But that need to control and not let life show us how is an indicator. So just be aware of that, right? So what's going on in behind this, right? So what's behind the curtains on this one? So one of the biggest things is there isn't just one me, right? I'm Paul, right? And I'm used to, when I think of something, I have ideas, my thinking mind, my conscious mind as being the Paul, right? That is it, right? That's what I'm used to thinking of. But that's actually not true. That's only part of me. But it's a very loud and very dominant part of me, right? There's other parts of ourselves that come into the picture, an intuitive self. But the biggest ones that we want to pay attention to here is the voice of fear versus the voice of love. If you want to boil it down to its most basic basic way of looking at it, there's complexities to each one of those those two things, but those complexities always lead back to one of those two things. It's either fear or love. Where is something coming from? And this is subconscious stuff we're talking about. So there's our conscious self, we come up with ideas, our rational self, but then there's in behind that our subconscious self. And that subconscious self is either coming from one of those two things, fear or love. Fear or love, always, right? Only one of those two. So, and the fear side of ourselves is always looking to protect ourselves, protect us from danger, right? The love side is always looking for healing and growth. That's what it does. And we can only be in one, and that puts our body into one of those two modes, right? And our body can only be in one mode at a time. Either our body is trying to protect us, right? And it's ready for a fight. Our muscles are tense, our heart rate raises, or we start sweating, right? That kind of thing. Our breathing becomes shallow and accelerated, right? Our focus becomes narrow, right? And we become very keenly aware of very specific things. Not everything. This is very important. It narrows, right? We get this tunnel vision, and we're only focused on one thing. And
that's when you're in protection.
That's when in protection mode. When you're in healing and growth mode, it's the exact opposite. Your awareness expands, and you're aware of everything that's going on instead of just that one thing, right? And you are relaxed. You're at ease. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles relax. You're not sweating, all that kind of thing. And your body is then able to direct energy into moving you forward in some way, right? In some internal way.
It could be the healing.
Could be healing.
Healing, like a physical healing. Or emotional healing. And
psychological healing.
And then you bring motivation up. Those things.
Think of meditation, right? Meditation is like the perfect healing and growth mode. Right? Well, that's taking your body all the way in there, and you've heard all the benefits of meditation. That's what healing and growth does for you, right? But you can't be in meditation mode and ready for a fight, right? Those don't work, right? So that's what we're talking about here. Is everything's either coming from fear or from love, right? And so I mean the voice. So there's those different voices that are inside of us, right? They come up in a conversation and they just come in, right? And we think it's our thinking mind, because we're not really taught to be aware of the differences between us thinking through a situation and trying to solve a problem or something like that, solve some situation.
Or subconscious is trying to protect or overprotect us. And then sending those voices in our head.
Like a voice of fear coming into, when you're trying to do your work, let's say, right? You're trying to work, And voice of fear coming in is, I have to do this work perfectly, and I have to have it done yesterday because it's so important. And if there's one tiny little mistake, I could lose my job, right? That's the voice of fear talking, right? I know that one, right? So that's how it invades into your thinking mind, and you don't even think about it, and that's anxiety.
You
right?
think it's true, that it's true.
Yeah, and you get convinced that that's actually what's really
It's not
true.
fear, it's true. That's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. I'll lose my job if it's not perfect. I could have said that many times, right? I'm totally convinced it's true. So it takes self-discipline, it takes awareness and self-discipline to look at yourself with fresh eyes and question that. Is that really true, right? Sure, maybe if you made an important error, a really important error, like small error, important error, if you made a really big one, maybe somebody would question you, right? But would it necessarily mean you instantly lose your job? Maybe. Some jobs are not that great, right? But most of your mistakes aren't going to be like that. A spelling mistake, right? A grammatical mistake, right? You include one person in the to list that was accidental in your email, right? You know, that kind of stuff. So what if somebody gets an extra email? In many cases, sometimes it's not so great, right? But in other words, most of those mistakes are not critical, and in many cases, most people don't care, right? They don't care if you got spelling mistakes in your email, right? They don't even notice most time, right? So,
but you are telling yourself, if I made a mistake, they would laugh at me, they would belittle me and judge me.
Yes.
And again, those are fear.
Yes,
right?
That is a voice of fear.
Yeah.
And it's the voice of judgment, and those go together, fear and judgment. And that is actually our own voice, not somebody else's. We're just imagining it coming from somebody else.
It could
right?
come, right?
That it could come, right? It could come from somebody else, right? So those, and that's a story that we're telling ourselves. It's so important to have that email look perfect, right? So if we're honest with ourselves, we realize, we step back and look at it and say, you know what, maybe I'm going a little overboard with this, right? I could ease off just a little bit. So, and the thing is that, that, like, just to describe a little bit more of that's going on there, that's all about a need for control, right? And you're holding on to everything that, like, that email is the most important thing, and your focus is all on that, and your muscles are tense, and you come home from the end of the day and you're so, like, worn out, right? You're exhausted because you're putting so much energy into that anxiety.
You're in protection mode.
Because you're in protection
fighting,
mode.
fighting
Exactly.
every moment.
Yes, exactly.
So,
And we talked about this in the previous episode of Aether, but, like, fear masks itself as other things, right? When you're angry, it's always fear. That's always the voice of fear. That's always protection mode. Every single time. There's no way around it. Same with sadness, depression, anxiety, all those things, right? Now let's talk about the voice of love, right? Voice of love, instead of it, being afraid of something bad happening, you have faith. Plain and simple. You have some trust that things are going to be okay, right? You go with the flow of life, and you let go instead of trying to control and force everything to be a certain way. You let go, and it's not like you don't care. It's different, right? You put some care into your work.
Yeah, you put effort into
you put effort and care into your work, but you don't sweat over every tiny little spelling, right? And you don't obsess over making it perfect. You simply do a good job and you move on to something else, right? And it's just no big deal. It's a very different way of approaching things. And you go with the flow of life, right? So what if you made a spelling mistake, right? And that frame of mind can also look like other things, right? Some other people would call it maybe forgiveness sometimes, or gratitude, or patience, right? or acceptance. All those things is coming from love, right? From that position instead of the fear position. And what's really important to remember, going back again to the fear situation, right, is that the voice of fear, like we were saying, you come home from the end of the day and you are exhausted, right? That's because the voice of fear is always lying to you. 100% lie all the time. And what is it lying about? It's lying that you have to keep it there and keep listening to it because it's the only thing protecting you from something bad that could happen, right? It's always there, and it's saying, if it isn't for me, you would not be protected, and you would be something, that bad thing would happen, and you'd be harmed, and everything would go to crap, right? That's what the voice of fear is always lying about.
Yeah, because subconscious mind, it's coming from subconscious mind, right? The fear. And subconscious mind, the number one job is keeping you safe, keeping you alive, right? And then in past, something happened, and then you felt danger, or you got hurt, you received pain. Subconscious mind remembers when that happened, that was pretty bad, right? And I hurt myself, or I lost my job, I lost relationship, whatever. So not going there. Subconscious mind is telling yourself not going there. So don't do it. Just keep doing this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's protecting us, but lots of times overprotecting and limiting us, and then controlling you by fear, right?
Yeah, it's controlling you, right? It's not controlling so much your life and your situation, but it is for sure controlling you. It's telling you that it's controlling your life, but it's doing it in a way, it's doing everything in a way where you're putting tons of energy into it, and you're hanging on to every tiny little thing as though it's the end, could be the end of the world, and that ends up exhausting you. So what happens then? Okay, so you put all your energy into writing that email, right? And you're so worked up about it. Get it out the door. There's another email to write. Same thing, right? Okay. And the voice of fear is saying, it isn't for me, I'm the only thing keeping you safe, right? All this stuff. Well, then a real emergency happens, right? Something really important happens. You get called, or not even an emergency, you're just called into action to perform. Let's just say all of a sudden, okay, the person who was going to do a presentation at lunch is actually not going to be well. You're going to be there to assist, but now you're the one who has to do the presentation, right? And you're like, what? I'm exhausted. And you're all tense already, and you're already in this automatic respond to everything, tension, anxiety mode. You end up with that situation in front of you. If you're going with the flow of life, you're listening to the voice of love. It's like, yes, this could be fun, right? This could be a great opportunity for me to show my abilities, right? Finally, for once, I get to talk to everybody in the company and show them what I can do, right? And I've got ideas, right? I know how things could be done around here. I've been working here for a while, right? So that would be a great opportunity if you're listening to the voice of love. But since you've been all worked up all day long, me listening to the voice of fear, right, saying you got to be on top of everything, then all of a sudden you're dealing with that situation. Oh my God, no way. You freeze up, right? You lock up. You're like, you're deer in the headlights, right, in front of everybody. You're not listening to people and their questions, or being able to respond appropriately.
The system shut down.
You shut down, and like, oh my God, the projector isn't working the way you wanted it to, right? It's doing something funky. You panic, right? It's just, and then it's not a good situation. So, okay, voice of fear telling me I'm the only thing that's keeping you safe, right? I'm the only thing keeping you able to handle everything, right? I can help you handle everything. Liar. Straight up, just lying to you. And that's what it does. That's what it does all the time. And what's really going on is people are receiving your emails and they're kind of like, your emails written in the voice of fear. It's like, what's with this guy? He's trying to make me do everything a certain way. I know how to do my job.
Yeah, because
right?
Controlling.
Because that control,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're
trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you and then going for the perfect outcome.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to involve everybody around you. They have to be perfect too.
Yes.
So you are sending all those
messages out to everybody all day long,
make sure
controlling them. They're feeling that control, right? They're feeling it. It's like, what's he doing? Telling me how to do my job.
I can.
I got it from here, dude. Oh yeah, and I heard you yesterday in your last email, right? I know what I'm doing here, right? So it's having the opposite effect, right? You're trying to control everything. You listen to the voice of fear. I can keep you safe, right? You're actually blowing yourself up your whole life and preventing yourself from being able to respond to real situations in any way that's effective. And so that's why it's so important to be realistic and step back. So that act of simply stepping away from yourself, from your normal mindset, and that only one way of looking at things, that tunnel vision, the voice of fear, right? Because that's what it does. It closes down all other possibilities, and there's only this one. And if you can step back away from that, breathe, right? And just take a chill, right? And then look at the situation again and be honest, right? Look at yourself in a way that evaluates without being judgmental and too self-critical, right? Simply look at it and be honest. Is that voice of fear really helping you? Is it actually doing it? Is it actually doing what it says it's doing? Or is it actually doing what we're talking about there and blowing up your life, right? So that's one way to start getting, underneath of what's going on in this whole thing. So let's see what else we got here. That subconscious, because it's coming from your subconscious mind, right? We are all, the thing is, we're all so very powerful. This is the main message of what we do with Sakuso, right? Is that because we know this, we know that people are very powerful, much more powerful than they really imagine, than they even could possibly think is possibly true. That's how powerful you are, and it's locked up in you. But it's the thing is, it gets locked up, and because of all the self-limitation, because we have that power, we're born with that power, and then we're innocent in our young life. We don't know the implications of the decisions we make, right? We decide that it's so important to protect ourselves from this possible harm or that possible harm. A friendship goes wrong, right? Then we're like, oh, I don't know about making friends anymore, right? Or, somebody at work is not such a great person, and they do something and they steal credit for something you worked on, and it's like, then you're like super, cynical and all that kind of stuff, and you're always trying to work out the politics at work and all that kind of stuff, right? So those experiences, we make decisions based on a lot of times negative experiences, and that we use that power that we have, and we decide that the world is this way. And when we decide that the world is that way and that we have to be a certain way to respond to it, we're using our power. And we're saying it's always this way. And so we're setting it in concrete, basically, that instead of us having the freedom and openness of being able to handle situations like that presentation, right? It's like all of a sudden we're the one doing the presentation. Oh yeah, we can handle it. We can't be flexible because we've built all these walls around ourselves and worn ourselves out with these self-limiting beliefs, the belief that we always have to be on guard, right? And so that's where we work against ourselves, and that's where, and the voice, and it's so important to be aware of the power of the subconscious mind and those two voices that where things come from, is either the voice of fear or the voice of love, right? And which one are we today, right? Which one are we right now?
And the more the people receive negative influences, knowing or without knowing, sometimes people are not aware they're receiving negative influences from outside, right? But the more you receive, the more the thicker and the taller the wall gets, like a limitation wall, right? And then sometimes the people has really powerful power, and then the more they have power, stronger power, the thicker and taller wall, they using their own power against themselves, right? So their power is stronger, the wall gets bigger, right? So you really have to use your full power to break the wall, right? It's not just easy, boom, right? Because and then you really have to put 100% in, believe in yourself, and then have faith, and then go all the way. Then you can break the wall, right?
Yeah. And then we've got some techniques here we're going to get into exactly. Finesse that a little bit, or break it down a little bit for the audience here. But yeah, you're exactly right. That's exactly what happens. Is if we only put a little bit of energy into limiting ourselves, then it's not so hard to get past. If we put a lot of energy into it, then we're using our own innate power against ourselves.
And like, so you try a little bit, and no, it's not working. Then you go back to self-sabotage, right? Oh, it didn't work. It worked for other people, but it's not working, right? And then sometimes the ego, right, the things that you are facing, you're suffering, is really serious. You've been working, you've been carrying this issue for a long time, and then somewhere the ego part is telling us that it cannot be changed so easily, right? Because you've been trying so hard, and then you try something new and you can change easily, and you might feel like that they will judge me. You could have done that like 10 years ago, and what were you doing? You wasted your life, 10 years of life. You don't want to receive that judgment, and then in a way, subconsciously, you want to prove this is hard, that things that you're dealing with, this is hard, so it cannot be changed, it cannot be healed that quick. And then you are making that wall giant, right? And then that's tricky one.
Those are tricky ones. Those are exactly what I have done, right? As you know, our clients have done similar things as well. That's such a tricky little package of limiting beliefs you just mentioned there, right? That it has to be hard to change, right? That change can't be easy.
Yeah, like
that is guaranteeing that it's going to be hard, right?
Like a doctor, you too, and other people. Some doctor told you like, oh, it's in your head, right? And oh, it's in your head. That's in your head. You're just creating it. And then if you just changed in one day, see, right? That's what they would say. See, right? It was in your head, and you were just creating it, and like, it would hurt. People telling you, see, that was all in your head.
So you don't want to hear that.
You don't want
so
to
you
hear
make
that.
it hard. You make sure it's hard, so then you can prove to yourself and other people that it wasn't just in your head. That's another,
that is tricky. But that's, and we're talking about this because we understand how it works
Mhm.
and how it's so painful, but you have the power,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That's why we're going through this. We have the power to change it.
This all can be changed, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to mention as well, before we go into that part, that if, like I was saying before, you can only be in one of those two modes, right? Your body can't be meditating at the same time as it's, defending itself, right? The healing and protection mode, or healing and growth mode, or protection mode, one of those two, right? And if you're in protection mode all the time, you're not in healing and growth mode. You just want to call that out here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you take, what supplement, or what you do, what exercise, or whatever you do.
Yes.
If you're in protection mode, not healing mode, you can't heal. Just period.
It's just not going to happen. One way or another, it's
you
going to be
might feel
prevented.
a little bit better, but no, you're in protection mode. You can't heal.
And that's a big part of why there's so many techniques out there that can help people and can heal them. They help, like you said, but don't heal, don't cure, right? And for a while, maybe help for a while, and then don't cure.
You have an injured leg, right? That need to heal, but cars coming at you pretty fast. You have to run away, right? You're not thinking about healing your leg. You're going to run because you cannot stay there. You're going to get hit. You're going to run, right? So that's you being in protection mode. But if you feel like the car is chasing you all the time from lots of different things, it's not going to be a car, but boss, and then your partner, and whatever, the job, the deadline, and all those things. So you feel like you're being chased all the time, and then you're running. There's no time for your leg to heal. Of course, you can't. You using it to run. Right?
Excuse me.
You can't heal. That's that simple. The leg cannot be in healing mode if you're in protection mode and running.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what that means. You can't be in both at the same time.
What does that mean? That means in order to move past this stuff, right? So how do we move past this? Is you have to deal with the subconscious mind. There is no way around it. There's many ways to achieve this, but the only way to get past subconscious programming, because it is so powerful. 95% of all of your consciousness is subconscious. That means it's outside your awareness. That's what subconscious means. So whatever we feel we're aware of, that we have all this knowledge and all this kind of stuff, we've studied things, we've looked into it, we've researched our problem, we've worked with it our whole lives, that's only 5%, right? We tried our willpower, all that kind of thing, still 5%. 95% of our consciousness, the stuff that Satomi's talking about here, about those decisions that we make, that we always have to be protected, right? Or that we have to make sure it's hard to heal because we want to prove that it's not just in our head, or whatever we decide is so important for us that it has to stay there. It will stay there because it's 95% of our power is being used to keep it there, right? In the subconscious mind, right? And so that from that subconscious mind, that influence of being either in that place of love or fear, we want to be able to address that programming, right? So that we guide it away from being stuck in the voice of fear, which is what most people are in the world are in. It pretty much guarantee that everybody's got that voice of fear going a significant portion of the time of their life, right? It's just how the world has been suffering, right? If you look at anger, sadness that are out there, depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff, people just being dissatisfied in their lives, that is the voice of fear, right? And it's subconscious programming. So you want to be able to address it with by dealing with for what it really is. So you need to be able to speak the right language, right? And the subconscious mind does not speak the same language that our conscious mind speaks. Your subconscious mind is in charge of all this kind of stuff, like your ability to walk, talk, breathe, your heart rate is being at the right level to be able to sustain the activity you're doing, your breathing, your all of those things, right? Your ability to drive, everything. It does so much for us. It's essential, right? We need to have it. But but since it's handling all these other different kinds of jobs, it doesn't speak the same language as our conscious mind. So if we decide that we don't want to be sick anymore, right? And then we really, really put our energy into I am not sick anymore, right? That kind of thing. It's not going to work because that's not the language that the subconscious mind uses. It works with different things. If you just change the wording around a certain way, then we've got a program that will help you do that. Actually, if you go to, let's see where it is. I got it here. If you go to sakuso.ca/shop, we have a program that will help you learn how to speak the language of the subconscious mind. That's in our muscle testing masterclass
course, like a YouTube course.
You can check that out. So
there's free ones and there's other ones.
Yeah, we have one on massive sale right now. The advanced class, and it's in the advanced class. That's where we talk about how to speak the language of the subconscious mind. Right, so that's one of the things. So where is it? They go here. Yeah, and to use the right techniques. So you need to be able to speak the right language and to use the right techniques, right, in order to deal with it. And there's many approaches to shifting the subconscious mind. Simply just changing your habits is one of them, right? And people talk about that all the time. Visualization, that's another one, right? Those are all good techniques, but we do have other ones that we prefer, right?
Yeah, like lots of people do affirmation, meditation, and then being successful. Some are trying and not successful. Right? If you are still struggling, you might not be using the right language. You might not be using the right technique, right? Or the subconscious is getting in the way to. You're doing meditation, you're doing affirmation, but the subconscious is there and controlling how you meditate, how you do an affirmation. That could be it too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've got videos on our YouTube channel as well, and on our blog on the website. They get into this to a certain degree because, I mean, just for example, if you're using a visualization technique, and a lot of people that recommend these. Those are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But if you visualize what you want for 20 minutes or whatever it is, right? You really get into it. You feel it and all that kind of stuff. Exactly what you want to create in your life. We got Barb sent us a message here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Appreciate that very much. So back here, I was talking about, the language that so visualization, right? You're doing that for 20 minutes. Then if you go back to all day long, the rest of your 23 hours and 40 minutes of the day, in a negative mindset, using negative language, that visualization is going to have to be really powerful to overcome that, right? So you want to be able to shift your all-day self. It's much more powerful than simply using a short-term technique. And that all-day self, that's your normal. Your normal. You want to be able to change your normal into something that's more effective for achieving what you want to do.
Like as soon as you finish meditation, you might feel better, but 10 minutes later, it's not gonna work. The subconscious mind start telling you back that, right? And then fear, and it's not gonna work, right? It's not gonna be this easy to fix my issue, right? Those things, if you are carrying that for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, subconscious is working the whole time and just staying out of healing mode and
Yeah.
staying in the protection mode,
Yeah.
right? Because yeah, it's powerful. Subconscious mind is very, very powerful, and it's our power, and we can use it.
Mm-hmm.
But lots of times we're using against ourselves.
Yes.
So we want to use it for us so we
Yes.
can move forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our approach, our way of doing it is to change your normal that we're talking about there. What is your normal? Your normal is kind of your if you collected together all of your subconscious programs and put them together, and that would be your normal. And one person's normal is not the same as the next person's normal. So your normal, the way you think that life just is, it's just how it's been, how you set it up for yourself. It's not how the other person has set it up for themselves. They have, so that you would say, this is normal, this is reality, right? This is just how things are. And there's a tendency to think it can't be another way. But it can, because the next person sitting beside you is doing it a different way, right? And so you can, so what's the difference is the subconscious programs that each person is carrying around with them and using all day long as their normal, right? Defining their normal. So if they're in if part of the programming is nothing ever works, right? It's all garbage, right? That's a negative subconscious program negative belief that's going to create a certain life outcome. And the next person doesn't have that, they're going to have a different life outcome, right? It's just the way it works. So using the right techniques to shift your normal is the way to go. So what's step one? Step one is identifying what the actual problem is. So, but when I say problem, what I mean is the limiting subconscious program that's cutting in your way, that's creating the self-sabotage.
And it's different from one person to other. Everybody is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is it that's working against you, that's limiting you? And it could be many different things, right?
Yeah.
It could be one belief or a different belief. But so which one is it that you want to, how do you find out what it is? Well, that's where our program comes in. So Tomi's able to pick that up intuitively, right? So that's step one. And then, so you want to be able to, figure out, you can't fix a problem unless you know what it is in the first place. So that's step one. Step two is having the right tool, right? So you want to be able to create the opportunity for change. If you want to nail two boards together, you want a hammer, right? If you want to use a screw, if you got to screw two pieces of metal together, right, and hold them together, you can't use a hammer and a nail. You need a screwdriver and a bolt, right? You need the right tool for the right job, right? If you want to be able to cut a piece of wood, you need a saw, right? Those are all different tools that are appropriate in order to get the job done. So you want to use the right tool, and we use a variety in the approach that we use, but we use Psych K as a preferential technique when we're doing our sessions with our clients in order to be able to very efficiently shift from one subconscious program to another, right? But there are other methods that we use as well that can be also just as effective and just as quick. Then there's step three, and that is to use those tools with self-discipline. So every day, what you're doing is you're shifting your habits to go along with using those tools, right? If your habit is to constantly play with fire, right? You do the shift work and you nail two boards together to start creating your structure. But if your habit is to constantly play with fire, you might burn your structure down, right? So the work you did in step two might not get you very far if in step three you're not supporting it with good habits, right? That actually help the process, right? One way or another. So that's what step three is all about, is changing your life habits in order to support that shift, right? So what's a good example would be like when you're writing, we're talking about writing emails, right? So what's a good habit is to be aware, for one. When you're coming into work, just be aware of your mindset. Just take a breath, right? Do a little breathing work for a few moments when you start your work. just to get yourself centered and in the right relaxed space.
Or you check your body. Your body is tense.
Yeah.
And that's a good indication that you are in protection
Mode, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going like this, tensed up, and doing this, then step back, take a couple breaths, and relax your body, and then put yourself into healing mode. And then, the job goes smooth. You're gonna be more productive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you can think clearly.
Yes.
And be more productive. Yeah.
That's actually a lie that my voice of fear told me as well. It's worth mentioning there, is that I thought that unless I was all tense and on the job and alert, and what I thought was alert, right, in that protection mode, I thought that was the only way to be efficient and be fast. It's completely the opposite. It's such a lie, because you absolutely cannot maintain that all day long. For one, even if you do get the first few emails out and pretty quickly, by the end of the day, you're messing up one way or another. You're going to be tired and you're going to mess up because you've exhausted yourself early in the day. That's one thing. And another thing is that you actually are slower. You're just plain slower.
And like you used to, like he's a fast typer, right? You can type fast.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I can type fast, so I can write emails very quick. But he's I made mistake, and then he erased all those, and so he just go. And he writes long one. He's a fast typer, but he's writing this long instead of this long, and then you are taking lots of more time, right? And then you making it perfect, and you erasing and rewriting, and the fast typer doesn't help. You thinking you're fast typer, so I can do it fast, so I'm fast, right? That making you stuck there too, right? I'm doing fast job, so I cannot slow down, right? So it's all going weird way, coming and self-sabotaging.
So I mean, you're simply just faster if you're going with, you're relaxed and you're going with the flow, because your thinking is clearer. You're guaranteed your thinking will be clearer. And you'll be more aware of other things, other factors that you want to take into account.
Creative, right?
You're creative, and you come up with a solution, and you can get that email done shorter, and trust that the people can do their job too, right? And you just get it out there, and you're not worried about it, and so you're not all tired out after writing a few emails and get by to the end of the day, and you're exhausted, right? None of that. So you want to use those habits of, like we're saying, take some breaks. Let's say, for example, it's just one example. Take a few breaks through the day. Start your day with a breathing exercise. Take a little break or later on, and one more. It's that kind of thing through the day. And then what we're talking about here is like a minute, right? Each one, right? Just 1 minute. Yeah.
Right.
That would be an example of a good habit that would support that change. So that's what's essential in order to get where you want. And Sakuso is the only method that covers all three of those steps. There isn't another one out there that does that. That's what makes ours unique. Those are the three essential steps you need to change anything. If you want to, build a shed in your yard, you need to cover those three steps. If you want to, plant a garden, you need to cover those three steps. Right? You want to buy the appropriate car for yourself, you need to cover those three steps. So Sakuso covers all three steps for creating effective change, right, in your life. That's why we love it, right? That's why we love doing it. And you can get to it anytime. Just go to our website. Just go to sakuso.ca/breakthrough, and you can schedule your session and connect with us. It's free, and we'll talk about whatever it is that's holding you up. and help you work through it. We'll come up with a plan with you.
We have the power.
Yeah.
Nobody else. Like we own that power, using against ourselves or use it for ourselves. That's we can decide, right? And not don't let the doctor say, "Oh, it's in your head." They are saying it. I don't know. I'm going to be in trouble saying this here, but they're saying it because they can't see it. They can see the energetic flow, and as it exists.
They can't see that.
They can't see it. They can't. So they can't see it. So they say, "Oh, it must be in your head."
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
Just because they don't know doesn't mean
it's not there.
It's not there.
Yeah.
No, it's happening in your body, right? So it's not just all of a sudden it came and something comes and it just it's really happening, and then because really happening, you can change it, and then don't let them say it's in your head. Yeah.
And so what do you mean by the energy flow? That's always tied to the subconscious programming, right?
Yeah.
If you believe that you have to be tense and on guard and protecting yourself and doing your job perfectly, and that will immediately change the whole energy, the way it flows in your body, and it will put all your energy out into your extremities and away from your digestion and all your essential healing, right?
Yeah, you can say it like electric signal sending from here to the body. You can say it that way.
Yep.
But they can't see it.
They can't see it.
They can't see it. So they have to say, "Oh, it's in your head," because they don't have the answer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Yeah.
It is happening, and then you have the power.
Yep. We all have the power.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing, really, is that we have so much more power than we realize, right? It's amazing, actually. What people can do. So
thank you for watching.
Come back next week on Aether, Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you like this episode, share it, like it, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.